How to Save the Honeybee, created by Cassidy, Grischow, and Mary Hoy. Why bother? If bees start to disappear, the effects will cascade throughout ecosystems, affecting all life, including humans. We must do everything we can to ensure that bees survive and flourish. Our own survival depends on it. From David Suzuki. Plant a garden made for pollinators. According to landscapeontario.com, there's a few things we should keep in mind when designing our gardens. Do not use pesticides or herbicides when preparing your garden, especially those that fall into the neonic classification. Plant native plants to avoid messing with the ecosystem. Plant in clusters so bees can gather nectar more efficiently. Plant single bloom varieties such as daisies or marigolds. Double-headed blooms create much less nectar. And arrange your garden so plants bloom spring, summer, and fall. Flower ideas. In the spring, you can plant a crocus. They prefer sunny spots. You can also plant a snowdrop. They do well in the shade. And you can plant a primrose, which is great for pots and containers.
To look at some summer blooming flowers. When choosing our flower selections, we try to include those that do well in containers for those of you that have limited space. We also try to include flowers that do well in the shade, keeping in mind not everyone has a full sun area to plant in. For the summer flowers pictured top to bottom, we chose pansies. They do well in partial shade, but do be sure to water them often. They like a lot of water. My personal favorite, the sunflower, is not only good for the bees, but also tasty for humans. We can roast the seeds for a nutritious snack or a crunchy salad topping. The mature leaves can also be used in stir fries. They are a little bitter for salads, though. The bellflower is a pretty flower that blooms from July until the frost hits, which brings us to the fall flowers. The fall flowers we chose to highlight because once they bloom straight through to October. Again, pictured top to bottom are both the coneflower and zinnias. They need a lot of sun, but the coral bell does very well in both containers and partial sun. A few things to keep in mind when planting your pollinator-friendly garden are plant single bloom varieties because they usually have larger flowers, and this makes it easier for the bees to gather the nectar and pollen. And also, by planting your garden so it blooms from spring to fall, you are assuring that the bees have a constant food source. Next, we can also plant for our table. There are several varieties of mint. A few of my favorites are lemon and chocolate. It can be steeped for a nice cup of tea or dried to be used for seasoning later in the year. A few of the herbs we can also use fresh or dry for seasoning are fennel, rosemary, sage, and basil, to name but a few. But this list is by no means exhaustive. You can find a much larger list at ontariolandscape.com. The last item that we think is important for us to help the honeybees is to spread the word. We can do this by spreading the word about the honeybee to folks we know. Many folks aren't aware that our ecosystem is facing a serious threat by the disappearing honeybee. I know I wasn't until this project was assigned. We can also join an organization that is dedicated to helping out our environment. There are a large number of them on the net, but be sure to do your research before donating your hard-earned money or valuable free time. Next, we should be supporting our local beekeepers. Many beekeepers sell their products at local markets and health food stores. By supporting them, we are supporting the honeybees. Before closing, I'd like to take a minute and acknowledge the sources used in this presentation. They are landscapeontario.com, thehoneybeeconservancy.org, birdwatchingheadquarters.com, and gardeningnowhow.com. Thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Bye now.